Hello everyone, my name is Melinda Holt. I'm a PS2 Tech Integrator for the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network, OTAN, and I'd like to welcome you all for joining us today for this month's OTAN Tech Talk. Our guest speakers today are Laura Libby from Revolution English, who will give an overview of Revolution English along with a demo, and Yvette Roth from Mount San Jacinto College, who is here to give you all a teacher's perspective on Revolution English. Revolution English is a technology that empowers English language learners with literacy habits, strategies for lifelong learning, and it provides fun, authentic content for students to practice English every day. So let's get started. Take it away, Laura.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to give you an overview of what Revolution English is today, our background of our organization, and how our technology is designed to help your language learner students accelerate their English language learning. So I'll start with some background and explaining who we are, and then I will show you a live demo on a smartphone of how it works and how it runs on a smartphone. So I'll start off with the PowerPoint and then switch to a cell phone screen, and then you'll be able to hear from Yvette, who uses this program in her class of adult learners. So to start off, just a little bit of background on what Revolution English is and how the program works with schools and adult English language learners. We are a nonprofit whose mission is to empower English language learners in the U.S. by facilitating language learning with technology. And we're particularly interested in serving student populations like yours, those that are learning English to improve their lives in the U.S., marginalized and disenfranchised populations who really need to improve oral proficiency and confidence with using English. So this tool is designed to work alongside your classrooms to help them achieve their language learning goals. So to get started, just a little bit more about the background. It is a software that blends immersion strategies with coaching and technology, and our program is built around the Center for Advanced Research on Language Acquisitions Research that found that immersion is one of the best tools to learn a language. So our immersion technology is based really on changing student behavior to use English more in their daily lives and outside of class. So we've worked to identify opportunities for students to switch to speaking and practicing English daily and in ways that are practical for them. And we coach them to do so with this technology. So we found that this tool is really transforming learning for those using it, and we've seen an increase of an average of 8.5 hours per week of new practice for students using it. So they're practicing outside of class with this tool, and I'll go into some of that data a little bit more later. The program is meant to be a supplement to classroom learning. So what we learned as we designed this program, we learned that teachers are doing an excellent job in their classrooms. You all are teaching, you have great curriculum, but a limitation to students improving, especially in confidence and oral proficiency, is really using and engaging with English practice outside of class and at home. So we created the technology to help immerse students in English in a fun and easy and practical way, so that they can accelerate their oral proficiency and confidence. A little more background on why we developed this program on a smartphone. We developed it on Facebook Messenger to work on a smartphone because we found that Facebook is one of the most used and accessible technology applications that the populations we all serve are using. And it's one that people engage with on their smartphones regularly and are already accustomed to using. So we found that one reason this program works with this demographic is because we built it with a technology in mind that students are already using and interacting with daily. So it eliminates that barrier to use. For example, many students in our populations may not have access to a laptop computer or a computer lab. So this is on their smartphones and it's easy to use at home. And we also know that our students don't have a lot of free time, so this is meant to engage them in a fun and practical way and doesn't take a lot of extra time. It's based on changing their behaviors and daily activities that they're already doing. So this screenshot that you'll see on the PowerPoint is an actual screen in Facebook Messenger, and this is an example of the content that's sent to students through the program. So the program has really two parts to it. Every day students are sent content in the afternoons, and then they're sent a coaching message in the morning. But this is the content message that students will receive. It is engaging content based on themes like employment and health, education, real life scenarios. and we use content that is fun and things that students are already interacting with. So like you'll see here, there's different levels that's typically provided in a day's content. And this is just one example, but this would come through in a Facebook message, and then students can choose their own adventure based on the level that they're at. So every day's content will be scaffolded with vocabulary, phrases, and then building to a video. And so like you'll see here, level 1 would be gaining new vocabulary words and practicing with flip cards and with definitions and pictures. And then it builds up to a video. And I'm going to show you this later on the actual Facebook Messenger app, but just so you get an idea as I go through the presentation, this is the kind of content that comes through. And then I'll go to this next slide. This is the second part of the program. This is the coaching aspect of the program. And one of the aspects of this program that we found is really successful for students is this accountability feature. It's very motivational, and it can challenge students to really be held accountable to their learning goals. So at the beginning of the program, when students log in, they set a learning goal, a practice goal with us in the app, and then they receive feedback on how they're doing. So we send this message out every morning, and we remind students daily to practice English and ask them to log how much time they've been practicing. So they'll get a message that asks, how many hours did you practice yesterday? And then we'll send them a fun feedback saying, wow, you did it, or better luck tomorrow, you need to practice more. And then we send them, at the end of the week, we'll show them how much they practice and let them know if they're meeting their goal. So we like to call this like a Fitbit for ESL because it's a similar idea, basically a coach and a motivator in their pocket. Another fun part of this aspect is that students are logging their time throughout your course, throughout the term or semester at your school. And so we can use this information and compile it for our teachers and send it to teachers throughout the semester. So with this pilot program, we can send this to you 3 times throughout your semester and show you how much students are logging in the app. We create a leaderboard to show you your top students and the hours that they're practicing, and then the total hours that your class is practicing. So it's really fun. We found that teachers can use that as a way to motivate, create competition in their classroom, or just even incentivize practicing outside of class. So this is a fun part of the program. So I'll go to this next slide and just show you some of the basic switches that drive practice. These are things we found are really practical and that we encourage students with in the app. We get students to make switches in common activities. We're trying to get them to use English instead of their native language so that they're practicing and immersing themselves in English. And the point of the technology is not just to have them on their phones more and scrolling on the app, but to empower them with tools to get them practicing and switching aspects of their daily life into English from their native language so that that is immersion time and practice time. So these are some examples. We teach students how to watch TV in English while reading closed captions, how to have different conversations. So we might run through a different lesson on how to have a conversation with a coworker. We'll teach them how to have conversations with a pharmacist or someone on the bus or in the grocery store. So fun activities like that are in the program. We use music videos and teach students how to learn from their favorite songs, or we might point them to resources like reading English children's books online. And so all of these different immersion strategies speak to different learners where they're at, but we found that these are some of the top strategies that students love, and so these are things that they'll find in the program. So I wanted to provide you with a little bit of data background, some sample impacts of this program. We did run a pilot with Evergreen Valley College in spring 2017, and typically this program is used in schools as an opt-in program in case some of your students may not have access to a smartphone. We found that a majority of students do, and that shouldn't be a barrier to use. But this was an opt-in program at Evergreen Valley College, and 83% of the students participated, and then 57% were actually actively using the program every week, which means they were clicking through content and logging hours every week. So that's a significant amount of students. And then with practice logs, with them logging their hours, and also with entrance and exit interviews, we found the daily practice time that students reported practicing English outside of class significantly increased when they were using Revolution English. So you'll see at the bottom of your screen there the daily practice before and with Revolution English, and you'll see those hours significantly increased. Now, some data that I think is a little more interesting is this next slide, because this practice time is self-reported. So we do take that with a grain of salt, knowing that students are self-reporting those hours. And what we wanted to also see is if it affected their actual exam results and their improving of English proficiency. So the actual assessment of students' improvement is not something that we do in the app. The point of the app is immersion, coaching, and content, and getting students to engage with English more. So there are quizzes and things like that in the content, but it's not meant to assess students per se. This class had an oral proficiency exam built in. So what we were able to see is how the amount of hours students logged in the app affected their outcomes on their final exam scores. So if you look here, the students who practiced less than 2 hours per week, who logged that time in the program, their average final exam score was around 75%. And then what we saw was those students who logged more than 11 hours per week in the program practicing English, their final exam scores were around 90%. So this is really interesting information, basically showing that students who use the program were practicing more per week, and then that increased their exam score. They got higher exam scores. So I know that this is not new information for teachers, but it's an affirmation that practice improves proficiency and performance in English, and that our app is helping students do that. So just a little bit more about how our program is made to work with your schools. So we developed this program with the idea in mind that teachers and administrators don't have a lot of extra time to implement new programs, and that you're already limited in the time that you spend with your students. So the program is set up to be an easy plug-and-play setup for schools with no extra work for teachers or administrators. We facilitate all the daily contact with students, so those two messages that I talked about, the content and the coaching, we facilitate all of that. We produce and update the program records and provide your school with those leaderboards showing the student hours that they're logging. And then we administer all those technology tools that I talked about. And also we provide a unique technology interface, meaning we can put your school's logo on the app so students know that they're registered and using the program under your school's umbrella. And then they'll log in under your school's name with their teacher's name, so that the data that they're logging, the hours they're logging, are going into that correct classroom. And lastly, we provide a plug-and-play PowerPoint introduction for teachers to deliver in class. So we've made it really easy to implement this in your classroom. We have a lesson plan that has been tried and tested in other schools and works really well with students to get them set up with the program on that first day, logged in, and then the program really runs on its own throughout the semester. We send those reports out with the student data, and other than that, it really doesn't take any extra time from you. Right now with OTAN, with our partnership with OTAN, we're able to offer a free version of this for up to 2 classes in each school. We provide those PowerPoint presentation lesson plans. We train your teachers beforehand on how to implement the program, and then we provide those leaderboards throughout the term. There is also an option for unlimited classes if you have a larger school and you wanted to implement this in more than 2 classes, and that is for a subsidized rate of $2,000 for unlimited classes up to 4,000 students. And similarly, we'll train your teachers and brand it for your school and provide those program reports. Now, the difference with the $2,000 option is that we can provide those reports weekly. So I would love to show you, I'm going to switch my screen now to my phone, so bear with me, but I'm going to show you how this program works so you can see it in real time. So I'm switching to my cell phone. So you should see now, instead of a PowerPoint, a cell phone. Okay, so this, everyone, is a cell phone. It's an iPhone, but this should work on any type of phone. This is the Facebook Messenger app, which is different than Facebook. Facebook you can use on a computer or a smartphone. This program is designed to work on a smartphone, so it interfaces best on a smartphone, but it can be used on a computer as well. And Messenger can be downloaded as an app on any phone aside from Facebook. You don't need Facebook to use Messenger. So I'm going to click on Messenger and open my messenger, and up here in the search bar, I'm going to type in Quicker English, and there it pops up, Revolution Languages. So this is the program, and this is how students will log in with the program, and this is something you're welcome to try on your own phone if you'd like. I'm going to click Get Started, and it's going to ask me for a school code. And for the sake of the demo, I'm going to type in OTAN, and this is how the program works. So the program is now sending a message, and the student would receive their school logo and a question, are you a student at the school? I'm going to click yes. And then down here where you see these blue bubbles, your teachers' names would be input and students would select their teacher. So I'm going to select teacher 3, and then the student would get a message saying, filling in their name. It would say awesome and then student name. And so it is personalized for each student based on their Facebook Messenger name. And then we're going to click yes to get started. And so this is just a demonstration to show you how the program starts when you set it up with your students. So it's going to introduce students to the idea that immersion is an important way to learn English and encourage them with the example of Ilhan Omar. And I'm going to click on Tell Me How to continue this flow. And so this is how students would use the app, is clicking on these buttons to get to the lesson. I'm going to click Continue, and this is the first day of class, how you would set this up with your class, getting students excited that they have this tool to use at home and that immersion is going to help them with their language learning gains. With immersion, you learn by doing. That's why I'll send you movies, TV shows, music, articles, and other fun ways. So I'm going to click Yes to continue. And this is a little bit of data from census data, just stating that in the United States, people who speak English very well earn $13,295 more per year. So just encouraging students that this can be life-changing to really improve their English language proficiency. So this next part, this is how students will set their practice goal. So they'll get this message with you the first day when they set it up in class, and they can set their own practice goal of how much they want to practice English every day throughout the term. So I'm going to click 2 hours to set my practice goal. And this is what students would do on that first day, like I said. And then every day they'll get a message like this. So it's going to show you, they'll get a message, Laura, how many hours did you practice English yesterday? And then students will log their time like this. So I'll click 2 hours. And then they'll get a report that says how they're doing and if they're meeting their daily goal. So this is what I showed you in the PowerPoint. They'll get a message that encourages them based on how they logged their goal. So this GIF says, wow, you did it. You practiced English 2 hours per day this week. And this will come at the end of the week showing them if they met their goal. So if you don't practice, I'm going to click here to show you if they don't meet their goal, they might get a message like this that says, that is to encourage them to help them do better next time. So they might get a picture that says, you got this, keep practicing, and we'll do our best to help you. So this is just an example of the accountability feature, the message that comes through to encourage them in the morning. And now I'm going to show you a sample lesson. So I'm going to click on Go to Sample Lesson. So this is an example of something that might come through in the evening when students receive a lesson. And like I said, every lesson is not the same, but these are a typical lesson that comes through, like I said, scaffolded into different levels. I'm going to click on level 1 to show you how students can start with vocabulary practice. So I clicked on level 1, and then students will get their vocabulary words for the day here. And this is, like I said, a sample lesson to show you how it works. Content differs every day and is based on different themes. But I'm going to click through to just show you what it looks like to practice the vocabulary word. So I'll click on practice, the last word. And students can choose which word they want to learn, or if they want to start at the beginning and go through all of them. But this is typically what comes through with a vocabulary practice. You'll get a picture that's associated with the word, a definition, and then you'll have the ability to listen. So I'll click play, and because I'm plugged in to speak to the OTAN TED Talks, you can't hear it, but this play button will play the word, so it will say practice, practice, and it will play the word for students to repeat and listen to and practice their pronunciation. And then they can click at the bottom to hear it in a sentence. So I clicked hear it in a sentence, and then they'll be able to practice it in a sentence with this play button. And I'm sorry you can't hear it right now due to the plugin I'm using. This is a pronunciation piece that will say the sentence out loud, and then students can practice out loud. And then you'll be able to watch the video at the end of the words in the sentences. So I'm going to click on watch video, and I want to show you just how that works to give you an idea. So I'll click on the play button, and typically a lesson will have a video associated where the students will be able to watch a video and get a really good immersion strategy and something they can go out and use outside in their daily life. So I'll click on play just to show you. And this is going to play a video, and it does have sound, and we also have the English subtitles, but teaching students about immersion strategies, so this is one of the first lessons in the program to get students excited about immersion and how important it is to practice English. So then after the video, we have a quiz, and like I said, this is not meant for assessment, but is meant to engage students, to get them to engage with the material and see how they're doing and see if they understand what they've learned. So students can click on these, get instant feedback if they got it right. This is the quiz down here. And then at the end of this video lesson, there's also an option to click on more, where students, if they have a lot of time and they want to keep practicing, we have all of our lessons in here where students can practice and play around with other lessons if they want. That's an example lesson, just so you can see kind of how it looks on the Facebook Messenger app. And we have more sample lessons down here, but for the sake of time, I'm going to end that demo there. And I'm going to hand it over to Yvette, and Yvette is a teacher who has used our program in her classroom. So, okay, so Yvette, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, my name is Yvette Roth, and I teach Advanced ESL at Mount San Jacinto College. My class had a total of 2,147 practice hours in 12 weeks. Revolution English was an easy app to implement because there was very little administrative time. It ran on its own. I did weekly check-ins to see if students were using it and if they liked it. If there were any tech issues, I would email Revolution English and they would help. I believe it's applicable to all levels. Students love this app because they are able to use it outside of class. The activities are fun, relevant, and meaningful. I implemented Revolution English the second week of the semester because by this time our registration period was closed, making it a good time to introduce it to the entire class. It took about 1 hour to go through the introductions and to have students set it all up. I started by telling students to set up a Facebook Messenger account on their phones a couple days in advance in order to save time on the actual setup day. This helped because they came prepared. On setup day, I asked everyone to take out their phones and go to their Messenger app. I asked some students who were tech savvy to help other students. This created teamwork and additional real-life speaking practice. As a class, we went step by step using the PowerPoint Revolution English provided the teachers. We would not continue to the next slide until everyone was all caught up. Having students walk around helping others was such a big help. I believe this was a big reason why the setup took less than 1 hour. I would email Revolution English to ask for weekly leaderboards. This is a PowerPoint which shows the top students who practice the most. Once students saw their name on the board, it energized them to continue practicing because they wanted to see their names again the following week. I was so proud of them, so I gave them candy bars. I did this the second week as well. After the third week, I realized that the money going to the candy can go to movie tickets. So I told them that the top student would get movie tickets. This created even more enthusiasm. Some pro tips. Congratulate top students with candy or movie tickets. Teachers don't have to be logged in or use it. It runs on its own. Teach students how to use it and designate class leaders to help others. Encourage them to practice weekly by using the leaderboards. Also, explain practice time. Practice time includes any time they're using English skills. For example, class time, watching TV, listening to music, the radio, reading the local paper. It all counts. So, okay, that's the end of this presentation.
If you have a tool or some tips you'd like to present, you can contact OTAN by submitting your idea at goo.gl/G12VTO. We also encourage you to subscribe to the OTAN YouTube channel where you can view archived tech talks as well as other OTAN videos. OTAN is a leadership project for adult education in California, and if you're at a WIOA-funded site, you can contact OTAN for additional services, including professional development at your site. Visit the OTAN website at www.otan.us or contact us by phone or email. We hope to see you at future OTAN Tech Talks.